welcome to Round Robin. I'm your host, Robin McCormick with the City of Hampton. And today we are going to start talking about holiday events. It feels a little early to me, but it is not too early to start planning all the wonderful things we can do this season. And we're going to start with Fort Monroe. My guests are Glen, Oder, and Susan Lineberry. Welcome.
Hi. Thank you.
I am so excited. You guys are very festive. You're dressed in red. We are getting ready for the season. What are you all doing at Fort Monroe?
Well, we have a few different things planned. On Thursday, December 6th, we have a tree lighting ceremony in Cannon Park with Santa and cookies, and it's a nice neighborhood event, but everyone is welcome. On Saturday, December 8th, we have the Mistletoe Homes Tour, where we have 5 historic homes that are decorated for the holidays, and it is a ticketed event. Tickets are now online, ready to go. It's that time of year.
That'll be beautiful. Is your house one of those, Glenn?
No,
not this year.
My house is not, but what's so exciting is that we have so much variety in the houses at Fort Monroe. Everything from these little teeny houses we call the Perry House and apartments up to the larger homes. And so we have a real variety, and they're all new houses. I mean, these houses have never been on the show before. And so,
really?
Yeah, so it's not the same as it's been in the past. And people just love going into the houses and not only seeing the house, but every family has a story, you know, where something came from, their grandfather made this lamp, or where this special Christmas decoration came from. So everybody has a story. Well,
and you know, you keep opening up new housing areas that you all have renovated and put back on the market. Do you still have a waiting list?
We operated at 95% occupancy. Any real estate company would say that's 100% because
you've got some natural turnover.
You've got the turnover, and it does take us a little bit longer to turn a unit because they're historic, and so we have to go back in there and we have to treat. Sometimes we're able to do things that in the home that haven't been done in a while to continue to protect the historic fabric of the homes.
It's just so exciting, and I know so many people who live out there, and it is a wonderful, you know, community aspect, and you can just walk around. You've got nature right there. Everybody kind of knows everybody, or is at least friendly. If they didn't actually know you before, they kind of feel like they do. It's just it's a great neighborhood.
We love our residents, and especially the ones that open their home to 500 of their new best friends to come through on a Saturday to see how they've decorated. And Glen's right. They have a lot of uniqueness that they bring to the tour, and we try to change it every year. And have different homes. So this is the 4th year we've done this, and we have, like he said, a wide variety. We have the Perry House, which is very small, and we have the Commanding General's residence and garden that will also be on the tour, which is 11,000 square feet. So,
and that is just an absolutely gorgeous place. Now, who decorates that? Susan, do you do that?
Oh, we will, yes.
But people can also rent that for their holiday events.
And we have special holiday rates if you want to book between Thanksgiving and New Year's for your holiday party. So just check out our website and we'll take care of you.
What a great idea. That sounds fabulous. Wow, what else is going on out there?
Well, the Hampton Roads Philharmonic Orchestra is going to do their annual holiday free concert also on Saturday, December 8th at 4 p.m. in the historic Fort Monroe Theater.
And that's like the perfect weekend. Now, if I'm counting right, no one get me in trouble if I don't. So you guys Thursday, and then Friday will be Phoebus.
Yes.
Friday night's Phoebus, and then back to Fort Monroe on Saturday. So it's all right there in the neighborhood. That's fabulous.
And we love the concert on Thursday with the Hampton Roads Philharmonic Orchestra. One of the things that I always ask them to do is to end with a community sing-along. So you can come sing Thumpity Thump Thump and all of our old great holiday songs. It's just so much fun to be in a theater with 400 people all singing holiday songs.
And they're really wonderful. And they put together all kinds of shows, and I know they alternate now between the Post Theater and the American Theater, but they're I know they're regional to the peninsula, but I feel like Hampton's their home. Yeah. We're their base. Technically, you guys are their base. That's where they practice. And
you know, when they first came to us years ago, they actually wanted to be the Fort Monroe Philharmonic Orchestra, and we ended up making it a little bit more regional. But they're really good.
Yes,
they're very good, and they're very talented, and they're very proud of what they've accomplished.
Well, thanks to the military and the colleges and universities here, we have an amazing pool of musicians, and it's a tremendous asset.
And when you come into Fort Monroe, I don't want to overplay this, but it's like walking into a Norman Rockwell painting. It's a Dickens village. By the time Susan ends up with her team decorating some of the buildings at Fort Monroe, because we decorate more than just the 5 buildings. We decorate some of our office buildings as well. And then the residents take great pride in putting out some decorations as well. And the tree lighting and the children that we have singing for the tree lighting, and the Segway coffee shop, a Firehouse coffee shop is open up for coffee. It's just a wonderful, wonderful evening.
Well, I keep telling people, Hampton is, as we all know, not everybody remembers, but the oldest continuous English-speaking city in this country. And I was in New Orleans this summer, and they're celebrating their 300th anniversary, and I look around going, 300?
Yeah.
That's nothing. But we don't look old because of all the wars, and British kept burning us, and Confederates burned themselves, and we don't look old. But then you walk onto Fort Monroe, and you remember how old we are, and it is such an important part.
Well, we hope that people will come to those planned events on the 6th and the 8th, but anytime during the holidays. We have all the trees that line Ingalls Road are lit up at night, and we have our tree lit in Cannon Park. So it's just a nice place to come and drive through with your family if you're looking for lights, and it's just a beautiful place.
Well, how many people are living and working there now? Because I think it's like just growing so incrementally that sometimes we don't always notice.
Yeah, we're really proud of the success at Fort Monroe. Basically, we operate at almost 100% occupancy on the homes, but there's always turnover. So anybody who's interested in a home in Fort Monroe should be talking to our real estate office and getting on a list, and we'll be happy to call you when a home becomes available. But they're probably about I don't know, it could be close to 300 to 400 people living in our houses at Fort Monroe, and the Chamberlain is probably operating, somewhere in the neighborhood of 200 to 250 people living in the Chamberlain, and then the jobs. People don't realize that we have a lot of people working at Fort Monroe. They don't work for us, but they work in buildings at Fort Monroe, and they're probably about 350 to 400 people. So
and
all in
all, those are service businesses, so we don't necessarily see them. Everyone sees Ouzel Finch and the Dead Rise, but they don't see alternatives, and they don't see
exactly. Architects, engineers, marine engineers. We have a flooring company. We have a tot lot. We have Liberty Source, which is repatriating jobs from overseas and bringing them back to here. Law firm. It's a very diverse place. The YMCA. The YMCA supposedly, I've heard, has gained more members at Fort Monroe than any other YMCA in the area. So people have really discovered, that we've got the YMCA open again at Fort Monroe.
Yeah, that's wonderful. And I think I have heard a lot of people. It is this wonderful stop for people who work in Norfolk and live on this side or the other way. You can kind of juggle around the traffic by doing your workout at this Y and gauge the tunnel times and all that. It's been a great thing for folks to have. Mm-hmm. Well, we also know that the National Park Service signs went up. And even though it's been a national monument, when the brown sign goes up and you see the Park Service logo, it just adds something. You feel that pride more. It's this visible thing that shows you that the change is happening. Yes,
we've done a lot underground. It was the first thing we had to do with fire hydrants and things like that. All had to be upgraded, and we've done a lot behind, inside of buildings. We've done a lot on paper. But now what we're doing is we're starting to do stuff out in the landscape. And so, yes, the sign program was a comprehensive study of all the signs at Fort Monroe, 200 years literally worth of signs. And so now we have a comprehensive sign program, and all of the Fort Monroe Authority signs, the wayfinding signs, as well as the National Park Service signs are now in a family of signs. And so you're seeing a lot of the brown signs with the creams. You're starting to see the arrowhead go up. Mm-hmm. It's an incredible partnership. We have a concept at Fort Monroe we call One Fort Monroe. But when people come to Fort Monroe, we don't want there to be border shock between what's Commonwealth property and what's MPS property. Nobody really cares about that. What they want to do is they want to be at Fort Monroe. Why am I here? What's special about this place? Where am I? And yes, it's a national monument. So it's really exciting to see this coming together. And you're not seeing fences and you're not seeing borders. It's a very unique partnership in the National Park Service.
Well, and interestingly, you know, the Citizens for Fort Monroe, it was their biggest concern, I think, was that it be one, and they wanted it to be one ownership, and they wanted that to be the federal government. But I think you can effectively do that by the partnership that is happening and making it be a partnership in one area that is, you know, works together. It doesn't have to be direct control. It can be through mutual agreement and partnership.
A total National Park Service was never
going to happen.
And it's not going to happen. But what we've created there, and again, this is very unique in the world of the National Park Service, but we've done it here in Hampton. Just as an example, the Casemate Museum is still owned by the Commonwealth of Virginia. We pay all the bills, we own all the artifacts in the Casemate Museum, but yet we, the Fort Monroe Casemate Museum staff, we manage the National Park Service stamp program. So when somebody comes to Fort Monroe and they want to have their park, book, their passport stamped, we do that. They don't know that
Right.
and we don't want them. We want everybody to enjoy Fort Monroe, and our partnership with the National Park Service is just that unique. The veterans programs that the National Park Service puts on, best program ever, but yet it's supported by our Public Works Department, et cetera, and so forth. Nobody knows that. The Fort Monroe Authority and the National Park Service have been able to seamlessly create this One Fort Monroe project. It's really very exciting.
And I'll say, the city works pretty closely too, and the new pier out there behind the community center, and the
Absolutely.
partnership with youth sailing, and also the availability for the community to use that, and the recreation opportunities with the ball fields, and all that becomes a community asset, a tourism, a living space, a business space, and nobody has the money to do it all.
Nope.
It's got to be a partnership, and we do have to work all together.
Yeah, the lifeguards on the beaches are provided by the city of Hampton. Some of the trash cleanup, management and maintenance of the piers at Fort Monroe, which are free and open to the public. That's our partnership with the city of Hampton. It's really a very seamless and exciting partnership.
And it protects that wonderful asset and keeps it a living place.
Right. And the most important thing to us is the visitor's experience when they come. And they don't need to know what property they're standing on. They just need to know what a special place it is.
Exactly. Well, that's wonderful. So to recap again, give us the dates for the holidays, because I don't want people to forget that.
Okay.
I know I took us off track, and I'm sorry.
Well, no problem. We have a lot going on. Thursday, December 6th in Cannon Park is our tree lighting.
Okay.
Saturday, December 8th is our Mistletoe Homes Tour, which is a on your own guided, or not guided tour, but on your own tour.
And you're going to sell out. You usually do, and people do need to get those tickets in advance, so we don't overwhelm those
and they
those
are
homes.
available now.
Okay. And after that, the concert.
At 4 p.m. in the theater, also on Saturday the 8th.
Okay. You were going to mention 2019, and I know we're just teasing people with it at this moment, but people need to get it on their calendar, because that weekend and what 2019 kicks off in terms of permanent displays means to Fort Monroe and Virginia. If you want to mention a little bit, Glenn, I know you're working on that.
Oh, thank you. I would say that 7 years ago when we started this journey, there may have been an aspirational goal that nobody even mentioned, and that was a visitor center at Fort Monroe. And lo and behold, we have, through the Commonwealth of Virginia, we have found $7.5 million to build a visitor center at the Fort Monroe property. We are adaptively reusing the old Tradoc library, and we're partnering with the Fort Monroe Foundation, so we're raising $1 million for the exhibits that will go into this visitor and education center. We're partnering with the National Park Service on the transferring of our archives over. When you come into this visitor center, you will be exposed to both Fort Monroe Authority staff and National Park Service staff. Again, that partnership just continues, and we're going to tell the whole history of the property, not just the Army portion or a portion that we think people want to hear. We're going to talk about the whole history. We're going to talk about the fact that the property was occupied for 2,000 years by Indians before we arrived. We're going to talk about Captain John Smith and his arrival. We're going to talk about the 400-year anniversary of the first arrival of Africans to this country that occurred in 1619, right here at Point Comfort in Hampton, what's present-day Hampton, Virginia. These are stories which have to be told in the right tone. They're stories which we have to tell. We have to not be afraid to enter into these discussions. And Fort Monroe can do that, and this visitor center is going to be the place that orients people to what occurred here so that they can begin to experience it and talk about it. That's why we call it the Visitor and Education Center. We want people to be educated about this. We want people to be able to talk about this.
And that will be, you know, there's a weekend to kick that off, but it will be the permanent exhibit. It will continue long past that and be the way that the story begins to be told, because there's still, I'm sure, a lot of work to do to continue to tell these stories.
Yeah, this is the state legacy project. The state of Virginia has identified Fort Monroe and this visitor center as the legacy project. There are going to be wonderful, exciting things that happen in 2019 in terms of lectures and speaker bureaus and so forth. This is going to be the bricks and sticks that goes beyond. This is not an end for us. This is the beginning. Mm-hmm. This is when we start, from now on, we begin to formally tell this story and let this story grow and mature right before our very eyes. When we build and open this visitor center next August on the 400-year anniversary of the first arrival to Africans, we're going to elevate Fort Monroe and Hampton right up there with its rightful place with Jamestown, Yorktown, and Williamsburg. We are now going to be exactly what everybody hoped and dreamed years ago. We're going to become the historic diamond as opposed to just the historic triangle. We're going to be included in that discussion. It's really exciting for everybody in Hampton to finally see this recognition take place.
It is. It really is. Okay. Well, thank you both so much.
Thank you.
And thank you for watching. I hope you will kick off your holiday season at Fort Monroe. Thanks for watching.